Goldie was a dog with a heart full of sunshine. Her fur, the color of pale honey, seemed to glow. Her eyes were kind, like warm cocoa on a chilly day. She lived with a loving family, right beside a large, whispering forest. This forest was Goldie's playground, her place of endless discovery. Every day she would wander its mossy paths, greeting the rustling leaves and chattering squirrels. Goldie was gentle with every living thing, carrying a quiet peace within her. One bright morning, Goldie ventured deep into the woods. Sunlight filtered through the tall trees, making dancing patterns on the ground. Birds sang from high branches as she sniffed at an interesting patch of clover. Then, a faint, weak whimper reached her ears. Goldie paused, curiosity piqued, and followed the sound to an old hollow log hidden beneath green ferns. With gentle caution, she approached, her nose twitching at wild, unfamiliar scents. She let out a soft whine, a sound of concern. The small cries came again, a little stronger now. Goldie nudged aside the ferns and peered into the dim opening. What she discovered made her soft heart ache. There, nestled together for warmth, were three tiny, spotted creatures, no bigger than her paw. Their eyes, new to the world, were just beginning to open. They mewed, soft, desperate sounds. These were not kittens from a cozy home. Goldie seemed to understand immediately. These were babies of the wild, lost and alone. Their mother was nowhere near. They looked so fragile, so utterly dependent. Goldie felt an overwhelming urge, a deep instinct to protect them, to care for them. These were bobcat cubs. And Goldie's life was about to change forever. Goldie did not hesitate. Her motherly instincts surged as she nudged the tiny bobcat cubs, licking and comforting them as if they were her own. The cubs snuggled close to her golden fur, finding warmth and safety. Goldie's family, seeing her devotion, agreed to help, moving them to a cozy shed. It was a beautiful thing to watch, a gentle dog bridging two worlds. In that little shed, a new family was born. Feeding the bobcat cubs was delicate work. Goldie, the golden retriever, watched every feeding, her devotion unwavering. She'd lick their faces just like a mother would and nudge them gently when they struggled. As the cubs grew, Goldie taught them courage, showing them the world outside. Under her care, the cubs thrived. Once lost, now home, all thanks to Goldie's gentle heart. Playtime became a daily festival of joy. Goldie, despite her calm nature, joined in with the bobcat cubs' boundless energy. They stalked Goldie's swishing tail, pouncing with clumsy agility. Goldie would lie down, becoming a mountain for them to climb. The cubs tumbled over her back, hid beneath her, and kneaded her fur with tiny claws. It was a tangle of gold and spots. The cubs learned to play like kittens, but also a little like puppies. They chased small balls the family rolled for them. Goldie would fetch a ball and drop it near the cubs, inviting them to join her game. They batted it around, wrestled with each other, and Goldie watched over them like a proud parent. The shed and yard echoed with their playful sounds, a mix of mews, yips, and happy growls. There were funny moments, too. One cub discovered Goldie's floppy ears and made them its favorite toy. Goldie would pretend not to notice, then gently nudge the cub with her nose. Another cub loved to pounce on Goldie's shadow, leaping at nothing while Goldie watched with gentle amusement. Through these games, their bond deepened. The cubs adored Goldie. She was their playmate, protector, and warm bed. Goldie, in turn, was utterly devoted to them. She taught them how to play fair and the joy of companionship. They were a strange little family, a golden dog and 3 wild cats. But their days were filled with affection. Their interactions were a testament to love that knew no boundaries. Goldie's gentle heart made every day brighter. The cubs thrived in her care, learning and growing through play. The family watched, grateful for the joy in their home. In that shed, laughter and love reigned, and for a while the world was perfect, all because of Goldie. As weeks turned into months, the bobcat cubs changed. No longer tiny, helpless babies, they grew taller and stronger. Their spotted coats became sleeker, their paws now held tiny, sharp claws. The wildness within them began to awaken, a natural, inevitable process. The cubs started to practice stalking, not just Goldie's tail, but insects and leaves in the grass. Their play became more intense, more focused. They crouched low, eyes fierce yellow, pouncing with growing accuracy. Goldie still played with them, but sometimes their pounces were a little too hard, their nips a little too sharp. She would let out a soft yelp, a reminder of gentleness. The cubs, usually, would soften their play. Their interest in Goldie's dog food waned. They craved something more. The family, guided by wildlife experts, began to introduce small pieces of meat. The cubs devoured it eagerly, food of their ancestors, food of the forest. Goldie watched them eat, making no attempt to share. She seemed to know this was different, part of their journey. The sounds they made changed, too. Soft mews turned into chirps and growls, sometimes a low hiss if startled. These were the voices of wild bobcats, not domestic pets. Goldie listened, never showing fear, only steadfast affection. But the signs were clear. The forest was calling to its children. Their instincts, ancient and powerful, were pulling them toward a life she could not share. The little wild nursery was preparing for a big change. The family felt a quiet ache, knowing what was coming. Goldie's bond with the cubs remained strong, but the wild was calling. The cubs were almost ready for the next chapter. Goldie had given them everything she could. Soon it would be time to let go. The forest waited, just beyond the yard, and the cubs were ready to answer its call. Goldie watched, her heart full of love and hope. The world outside the shed became more alluring to the young bobcats. They sat at the edge of their enclosure, eyes fixed on the distant trees, ears twitching at every sound. The scent of the wild, carried on the breeze, was a powerful magnet. Goldie sat with them, a silent golden guardian, sensing their growing restlessness. Their hunting games became more serious, rehearsals for survival. The family knew the time was approaching for the bobcats to return to the wild. Preparations began quietly and sadly, with wildlife rehabilitators making a plan for their release. Goldie spent more time just watching the cubs, as if memorizing every detail. The air in their little haven shifted, filled with unspoken goodbyes. The cubs were almost ready, and so reluctantly was the family. The day arrived, tinged with autumn gold and a heavy sadness. The wildlife rehabilitators came with special carriers. The bobcat cubs, now nearly grown, were strong and agile. Their wild beauty was undeniable, but their eyes still held a spark of familiarity for Goldie and the family. It was time for them to answer the call of the forest. Goldie watched as the cubs were gently guided into the carriers, whining softly. The family had tears in their eyes, letting go with love. The carriers were taken deep into the forest, to a protected area. Goldie was allowed to come along, her gaze fixed on the carriers. At the release spot, the carrier doors opened. One by one, the young bobcats stepped out, paused, and sniffed the wild air. With a final fleeting glance back, they bounded away, disappearing into the trees. Goldie stood watching until they were long gone, a silent sentinel of love and loss. The forest embraced its children, and Goldie returned home with her family. Their hearts were full of memories and hope for the bobcats' wild future. Months passed. Winter came, then spring. Goldie continued her daily walks, often sniffing around the area where she first found the cubs. The family missed the bobcats, wondering if they were safe and thriving. One late summer afternoon, Goldie was on her usual walk with her human dad. Suddenly she stopped, ears perked, nose twitching. She pulled on her leash, eager to go forward. Her dad followed, pushing through some bushes. In a sun-dappled clearing, they saw 3 adult bobcats, sleek, powerful, and undeniably wild. Goldie pulled free and bounded toward them. For a moment, her dad feared the worst, but the bobcats did not snarl or flee. One approached Goldie, chirping, a sound from their youth. Goldie wagged her tail, and the bobcat rubbed its head against her side. The wild bobcats, her babies, remembered her love. The reunion in the forest was brief. The adult bobcats, after a few moments of gentle interaction, melted back into the wilderness. They were wild, as they should be, but the bond endured. Goldie was quiet on the walk home, her tail wagging gently. She had seen her wild children, and they had remembered her kindness. This story teaches us about the power of instinct and compassion. Goldie's gentle heart knew no boundaries. She simply loved. Her family, by supporting her, showed compassion too. Family is not always defined by blood or species. Goldie and the bobcats were a family. A strange, wonderful, unlikely family. The lessons they learned together stayed with them, even when they were miles apart. There is a bridge between our worlds, a bridge built of empathy and respect. Goldie's story is a testament to the universal language of kindness and love.